Okay guys, we're filming this really early in the morning, so I still got like some very questionable stuff in my hair. Let's just pretend you don't see that. Let's get into it.
Excuse me, my name's Woody Boyd.
Woody? Hi, I'm Sam Malone.
Howdy. I'm a friend of Coach's. Is he around?
Before Woody Harrelson would serve bartender on the show where everyone knows your name, I'm talking Cheers.
I don't even know how long it's been.
35 years.
35 years. Thank you for giving me that. So, I watch some of these episodes and I'm like, I don't remember that at all.
Before Woody Harrelson would become one of Hollywood's most prolific actors, appearing in films such as White Man Can't Jump, Natural Born Killers, the Hunger Games franchise, and even TV series like True Detective.
See, the thing is, you guys look at me, you see the backwards hat, the gray socks, the funky outfit, and you say, now this guy's a chump, am I right?
No, fucking geek.
A fucking geek, exactly.
Before Woody Harrelson would help pay for his father's defense after Charles Harrelson was sentenced to life in prison for his crimes as a contract killer.
He is in prison right now for the killing of a federal judge. I think that it was not a fair trial, especially because the guy who supposedly hired my father to commit the murder was later acquitted on a retrial.
Makes a lot of sense how he got that role in Natural Born Killers. I mean, he learned firsthand from his dad. Also, how he got the role in Cheers. I mean, the character's name was Woody. How could he not get it? As a kid growing up in Texas, Woody Harrelson, he used to daydream about becoming a cop or even some type of secret agent. Now, little did he know that he would one day turn into what Esquire described as Hollywood's wildest wild child. And honestly, well, that's probably selling his come-up story a bit short, because Woody, he easily has one of the craziest origin stories you've ever heard. Not only did he grow up with a professional hitman for a father, but once his own star began to rise as a member of the uber-popular sitcom Cheers, well, Woody's hard-partying ways, well, they almost wound up costing him the love of his life. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCredden back at it again with a brand new Before They Were Famous video. Now, with the release of Venom, we've also dropped an updated Before They Were Famous video on Tom Hardy. As always, be sure to let us know who to feature next. And for those of you in the comments, I'm talking about you, Blurry Quickness. Well, cut Clyde some slack. I mean, we see all your comments. It's getting a little out there. All right, let's get into this video. Woody Harrelson was born Woodrow Tracy Harrelson on July 23, 1961 in Midland, Texas, to parents Charles and Diane Harrelson. Now, Diane, she had fallen in love and married Charles only after 2 weeks of getting to know one another, and it sounds like the start of a spectacular love story, right? Sure. But in Woody's parents' case, well, it wasn't meant to be. Because only 7 years into Woody's life, well, his father Charles, well, he was sent to prison on a murder conviction. As it turns out, well, Charles, well, he was an honest-to-goodness professional hitman. A contract killer and big-time gambler, well, Charles Harrelson, he was eventually sentenced to 2 life terms for the slaying of federal judge John Wood Jr. This happened in San Antonio in 1979. Prior to his incarceration, well, Charles had also been acquitted in the death of Alan Berg, a carpet salesman, and convicted in the murder of Sam DeGalia Jr., who was a grain dealer. But most shockingly of all, well, Charles, he has also attested over the years that he was the man responsible for shooting JFK from the infamous grassy knoll in November of 1963.
Yeah, he's a psychopathic killer, but so what? There's plenty of them around.
While his father's complicated legacy has certainly overshadowed his relationship with the man, well, Woody has always maintained belief that his father is largely innocent of the crimes he's been charged with, and his undercover role as a CIA operative was a contributing factor to his eventual incarceration.
You said once that you thought that your father was a CIA operative.
Yeah, he was.
Does it make a difference?
That he was trained by the CIA? Yeah, I think it makes a difference.
Regardless of whether or not his father was truly innocent of these violent crimes, well, his departure made life for the rest of Woody's family extremely difficult. Now, without Charles around to help support the kids, well, Diane, she had to make do with the small amount she earned as a legal secretary. To help stretch a dollar, she moved the family to Lebanon, Ohio, where Woody, he would spend the vast majority of his youth. Now, Charles' incarceration had instilled Woody with a wicked temper from the get-go. In nursery school, he'd get kicked out of class, and then after being accused of stealing a purse while in the first grade, well, Woody, he went around the school breaking windows with his bare fists in a fit of righteous anger. Sounds like a little bit of Carnage right there. Now, every time Woody would come close to letting his rage consume him, well, it was his mother who would pull him back from the edge and teach him the morals that continue to guide him to this day. He once told The Guardian, "I do feel she was a great influence on me and instilled a lot of good values. Just the way you treat people, behaving honorably, which I don't always do. but she was a great role model for that and still is. Now eventually Woody began to wrestle control over his anger and rage, channeling into his art form of choice, which was acting. Now, after getting bitten by the acting bug and starring in high school productions, Woody would go on to earn a bachelor's degree in English and the theatrical arts from Hanover College in Indiana. He graduated in 1983. Next, he set his sights on New York City. Once in the Big Apple, Woody began appearing as an understudy in the Neil Simon play Biloxi Blues, and occasionally popping up as an extra in various films and television series being shot around town. Then in 1985 came the biggest break of his life. You see, back in the 80s, there was few larger sensations than the sitcom Cheers. Now, during the show's first 3 seasons, a character called Coach, he acted as the original bartender, but after the passing of the actor who played him, the producers of Cheers knew that they needed to inject the series with some fresh blood. Now, that's how they came up with the character of Woody, a lovable dimwit, and they were looking for a Woody out there who could play the part.
I plan on leaving something behind for the world to remember me by, and here it is.
It's a glass of Windex, Woody.
No, it's a drink. Well, I'm calling mine the Blue Void of Happiness. Can I tempt you?
No, the real Woody would actually have to be convinced into auditioning for the role for the fake Woody, but he blew everyone away in the room as soon as he stepped into it. And I mean that literally. Now, the moment Woody stepped in front of the room to give his reading, he did so while blowing his nose at the exact same time, which left quite the impression on everyone in the casting room. Couple that with his clear acting chops, and before he knew it, Woody Harrelson was one of the most popular characters appearing on television's most beloved shows.
I wasn't thinking to do television. When the time came and I had the opportunity either to go right or left, I was inclined to stay in New York. And everybody told me, you got to do this show.
Woody would continue to be a part of Cheers for another 8 years, and while prior to his breakout role, he'd been a struggling actor looking to make it in New York, now he was a big deal who found the sudden trappings of fame to be a whole lot for him to handle. He admitted to GQ, "Before I'd been gregarious, someone who enjoyed the company of others, but during Cheers, the pressure of people that I didn't know constantly waiting to talk to me made me recoil and become less outgoing. It had quite a negative impact. I went through a period of arrogance and having my head up my ass." I mean, he had only graduated from university 2 years before he got that part. I mean, it happened quick and fast. Now, after Cheers came to an end, Woody, he transitioned from the small screen to the silver screen. After cameos in films like Wildcats and LA Story, Woody would finally headline his first feature alongside Wesley Snipes in the basketball comedy White Man Can't Jump. Then in 1993's Indecent Proposal, he starred opposite 2 of Hollywood's biggest stars, Demi Moore and Robert Redford. Now, this performance would pave the way for his starring role in Oliver Stone's controversial classic, Natural Born Killers, where Woody portrayed a man living the type of violent lifestyle that shared more than a little common with that of his father.
Mickey and Mallory Knox. I love you, Mickey. Love you, Mallory.
Only a few years later, and Woody would earn his first Oscar nomination for his performance as an adult film mogul, Larry Flynt, in the biopic The People vs. Larry Flynt. But throughout all of this success, Woody, he had to contend with the party boy image that his earlier behavior had helped perpetuate. He told GQ, "I became a party animal. You couldn't do what I did now because of all the tweeting and the Facebooking. All the I did back then, I'd be hung from the rafters." Even 2 decades into his career, Woody, he was still partying hard in the early 2000s when a night in London almost cost him everything he holds dear. Now, after a hard day at work, Woody found himself at a London bar where 2 women approached him and asked if he wanted to take a walk with them on the wild side, Larry Flynt style. Let's just say Woody, he didn't exactly have to be talked into it. Now, soon after, a 3rd woman, she joined their group, and all 4 returned back to Woody's hotel room for the aforementioned, Larry Flynt style good time. But here's the thing. Now, back then, Woody, he was in a committed relationship with the woman that would later become his wife, Laura Louie. So when pictures from that night made their way back to her, she almost left him. Now, rather than hide from his demons and the harm he had caused the woman he loved, Woody embraced his wrongdoings, and eventually, he would reinvent the story in a 2017 comedy titled Lost in London, and this was his directorial debut.
You're fine. Maybe she hasn't even seen it.
Well, that's true. I mean, maybe she hadn't seen it.
3 women?
Whoa, a jackpot!
In 2008, Woody and Laura, they would get married in a private ceremony in Costa Rica, and from that point on, Woody's hard partying days have mostly become a thing of the past. But that's not to say that he isn't as eccentric as ever. Whether he's championing raw food, the preservation of the environment, or the medical miracles of marijuana, you can still count on Woody Harrelson to give you his honest opinion on just about everything.
I heard that a lot of your castmates are saying that it's dangerous to smoke the marijuana that you travel with because it's very, very strong.
I've had a lot of people say that, yeah. Well, you know, you don't want to half-step.
And after appearing in recent popular properties like True Detective, The Hunger Games, Zombieland, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, and the upcoming Venom, Let There Be Carnage, well, I highly doubt that his career in Hollywood is coming to an end anytime soon. I mean, the guy's an absolute legend. Growing up, I thought he was Matthew McConaughey's brother. Turns out they're just best friends. Makes sense though, right? Like twins. Anyway, as for the rest of the story, I think we're going to wrap this one up here. Be sure to check out our Tom Hardy Before They Were Famous. That one's hosted by Clyde. Blurry quickness. Cut the man some slack. I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!